Assalamualaikum, knock it down. Walaikum assalam, knock it down, down. Welcome to Six Figure Discussions podcast. Today's episode is number 5. We broadcast from New Jersey. We're spending weekend here in New York, all three of us. This is my brother joining us. We want to talk to you about something really cool. This is Rish. This is your main event guy, Taz. And
call me Grand Choco.
Check out his music on Spotify, by the way.
We should probably introduce you as a new and a hopefully recurring character on our podcast, because I think Six Figure Discussions was initially started under the premise of just us talking about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And you're always in these conversations. Maybe you're not as involved in terms of like the group chat discussions that we have. You like to put us on mute, but you're still there. I know you're still listening.
I think you reply like once in 6 months or something.
How long has been that our group chat? 3 years? 2 years?
Yeah.
2 years at the very least.
Yeah. Introducing you, Shad. Could you tell us your story? Brief background, who you are, where you're coming from, what you do, essentially how you ended up in the United States, how we know each other, and how we converged to this point.
We met in Kyrgyzstan, right? In 2007, 8, 9? In 8th grade, I joined the boarding school, Sibat in Bishkek. We were classmates at the time, and then until 10th grade, we used to sleep in the same room. Each room had 10 guys. As soon as you entered the room, I was on the left side of the bed, and you were on the right side of the bed. We were both on the first floor, and each room had like 5 bunk beds.
Mm-hmm.
So went there until 10th grade. As soon as the 10th grade began, I left to the United States. And then a few months later, you joined. But I went to Kentucky, to a boarding small Christian private school. You went to Philadelphia? Yeah. I graduated high school, went to University of Kentucky. Then we got into software engineering. You were accepted to Georgetown, I remember.
So first episode, glad to have you on board as an introduction. And hopefully this is not the last time, but we'll be annoying you more and inviting you over.
Yeah.
Well, what is it that we want to talk about today? So last episode, Rish and I dedicated to the topic of health and mindfulness. And in a sense, this is probably an extension of that conversation.
Yeah.
We're continuing on that conversation, and we're shifting more in the direction of healthy mind and the mentality of self-improvement.
Yeah.
And I watched you guys over the years, and I think both of you have been just doing a lot of work in terms of researching ways to self-improve and just actively implementing that in your day-to-day lives. So through your journey, can you talk me through the process of kind of how your outlook on life has changed over the years from Kyrgyzstan to first Kentucky and then to Virginia, and how your approach to self-reflection and self-improvement worked over the years?
Yeah. Oh, man, that's a good question.
Because also one of the superpowers that you have basically developed this superpower to focus and to leverage your focus.
Yeah.
And you started really small to now to the point where you can focus like 8 hours a day with pretty much 0 distractions.
Still working on it, but
that's like you're like Columbus. You always go out of your comfort zone, try to find new territory to explore.
Thank you. I don't know how to put it. It's just when we were kids, I used to be a very, very curious kid. Even when I was 6, 7 years old, I would create very unique war machines, tanks, very sophisticated ones. I would start fixing things in the house from the age of 7. And my dad used to promote curiosity whenever I had questions. Remember how like your dad used to do? It's the same thing. I could ask up to 100 to 200 questions in a day, and my dad like keep on asking. And he helped me develop this curiosity mindset. It started from then, I think. But then my mentality in Kyrgyzstan before I came to the United States, I think it was a mentality of I was an angry kid. Not in a mean way, but because you're a minority in there and you always get suppressed. Yeah. Right. And very angry kid, just ready to. I never wanted to like be in those situations where I had to fight or I had to defend myself. I always wanted to get along with people. Yeah. But it was very hard. And you know how you even hear people like for example, Eminem rapper, he used to move out from school to school, and that caused him to get bullied so much. Yeah. Imagine in our situation, especially mine, I was moving from school to school, city to city, neighborhood to neighborhood, and country to country. And it was weird everywhere we went to, right? I was always picked on. Over time, I developed this aggressive mentality. Was a very angry kid. I developed very strong survival mechanism. Then when I moved here, it slowly started changing.
But at the end of the day, the toughest fight you were facing and have been facing is the fight against yourself.
Yeah.
Because you can't beat yourself with anger.
Yeah.
You can't just beat yourself up. So let's talk about the tools. Let's talk about what you use to beat the anger in you.
Spent a lot of time self-reflecting, then looking at every interaction that I had with people, with every individual back home in Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, and then look at every interaction I had in the United States. And over time, I started coming to this realization that I was looking more at it as a program. Wow, the program that I was running on in Central Asia was applicable to that environment because that's the program you essentially need to survive, right? But the same program does not apply in a country where everything is completely different. So either I remain the same and I get in trouble here, or I go back if I don't change my mindset, or if I do want to stay here and prosper and achieve whatever I want to achieve, I have to change my program. That was the conclusion that I had to face. I had no other option. Would self-reflect, read books, and mature, meditate over a year now, year and a half.
Are you noticing difference now that you've been meditating for quite a while?
Yeah. I'm not an angry person. Very positive. I would like to think. There's still a lot of work, but I don't have those anger issues. Or when a person insults me or disrespects me, I don't take it personal anymore. I don't know if you guys noticed that or not. I can just ignore it. Just be me. I started realizing that maybe because I take it personal, because maybe there's some hidden insecurity.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's why there's an overreaction to that.
Yeah.
Meditation and reading books.
Somebody who doesn't have the strength to be able to just use fighting as a cathartic experience.
Mm-hmm.
What do they do? How do they manage their emotions? How do they avoid just imploding from this constant pressure of anger that builds up on it? Like, you talk about meditation, so let's revisit that. But first, I want to talk about the books that you read. I want to talk about the philosophy aspect.
Like you said, right? What made you solve these internal problems that you had with anger was you being reflective, meditating, and then reading books.
Yeah.
And then I've been seeing the type of books that you were reading. And then the thing about you is every time you read something that helps you, you always share it, whether that's with me, whether that's with Tamchi or anybody else.
Yeah.
Just wanted to take this back to your experience with
Let's
discovering.
talk about Stoicism.
I don't know. I'm still learning. I've been following Stoicism for the last 3 years or so. Like the main principles of it, how a human can endure anything. And the first time I read was Ryan Holiday's book called Ego is the Enemy. And his books are written using like the Stoicism as the main, like the foundation principle. It comes from ancient Roman philosophy. And Marcus Aurelius was a great practitioner of Stoicism. The philosophy is about how man can endure anything and all of the failures that you have or the difficulties that you're having in life. It's trying to teach you something.
So I guess the main principle of Stoicism is just you detaching yourself from whatever happens on the external, so that your emotions are always the same, they're constant, and you're basically in control of your internal state.
Yeah. To put it together, I think the main theme is, you know how you get this quote all the time, what happens to your life is 10% what happens to it, and 90% is how you respond to it. And that's, to wrap it up, essentially that. If a person is in tune with their emotions, in tune with who they are. Stoicism, has been navigating compass, at least for me. I've read Stillness is the Key, Ego is the Enemy. I'm currently reading by Ryan Holiday, Courage is Calling. I think that's a fascinating book. And you know what movie also has been extremely impactful? Gladiator, right? Played by Russell Crowe, truly does embody Stoicism, because the man is stripped out of everything and now is a slave to try to fight for his life, right? And he accepts it and essentially does not get his freedom, gets killed by the emperor.
How did you discover Stoicism to begin with?
Yeah.
Who recommended reading?
I would watch YouTube videos, like I would stumble, like, how do you deal with difficult emotions? Let's say you YouTube it and then you would stumble on like the video, Stoicism, it's about this. And you'd watch one video, you'd watch second video, or how to deal with anger issues. And then another Stoicism related video comes up and you watch it. And then as you start hearing the message, you start realizing, oh, wait, the messages, underlying messages are very practical and they're yet ancient messages, right? By these great emperors, and they're still applied till this day, and they're so solid and so practical. Let me look up more into it. And then that's how I stumbled on Ego is the Enemy. I think you guys should watch this video summary by some YouTube channel who did How Gladiator is a True Definition of Stoicism. And it's so beautifully done. Even,
Video summary?
Yeah, video summary. Even the way how he picks up the sand, like the dirt, and then he rubs it together. Essentially, what he's doing is bringing himself back to the present, that he will, turn to a dust someday, in a sense, right? Remember, even there's a message: we're nothing but mortals, we're nothing but a shadow and dust. Yeah, so it's a constant reminder to him, to bring him back into the present, and he'll go back to the dust again. But then when he fights, he's truly present and sees what's exactly going on and accepts it.
So sorting through videos on YouTube, searching through the internet, you come across this concept.
Yeah.
Reading books is hard. At least in my personal case, I find it very difficult to actually put my head down and read books. In fact, when we came to New York, first thing you called me out on is the fact that I'm still reading the book that I've been reading 4 months ago. So what is your advice to somebody like myself who has a hard time getting through a book? How do you read through books? And what is your, routine for getting through so many books? This concept or any other concept?
I think the best way to go about it is, if you want to be a book reader, but you're not, the first thing is read only the books that excite you. Read only the books that interest you. And as you read them, then you start developing a habit. And then I recently found out this quote that says something along the lines: read only the books that you have excitement to read until you become an actual reader. Something along those lines. And then I realized that's actually exactly what happened with me. In Michigan in 2016 or 17, I always up to that point wanted to be a book reader, but I never could sit and read a page to save my life. It was like, what the hell? It's so boring. I can't. And one day I was at Costco and I stumbled on Genghis Khan's book. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go get it. And I went, I got it, and I finished it in less than 10 days because it was just so exciting. And if you do something even for 10 days, you kind of instill a small habit, right? I'm like, you know what? I love this book. Now let me get another book. And I got a book about money. That was the same thing. That book took me like 20 days. So all in all, it was 30 days of reading books every day for 30 minutes. And I would track myself. Okay, I'm only going to read for 30 minutes a day, or only for 15 minutes, or only 5 pages. And then slowly over the years, now I can read any book that I can, as long as I have even the slightest of interest, I could read it no problem and finish it. I usually try to read at least 30 minutes to an hour every day. But yeah, read the book only that excites you until you get into the habit, and start small.
I think also by you discovering self-reflection, meditation, and stoicism, it indirectly improves your other aspects, right? Your other areas within you. And one of them was your ability to focus.
Yeah.
And I just remember how much we used to struggle with it. Like we just could not put our head down and study or do whatever we had to do, right? And I, at least at the time, I accepted it and I thought, I guess that's how we're just going to have to live with it. But you, being Columbus type of brother, you went out of your way and you were always seeking answers. And you found ways to improve your ability to focus. And if before we could not focus for even 5 minutes, you now got yourself to the point where you could sit still for hours on end, just doing the work that you have to do, whatever that is, reading, studying, working. What has helped you develop that ability? And why do you think focus is important in the first place?
I think focus is extremely important in life, because without focus, you really can't achieve anything. Not even like success, but just literally nothing. You can't, even for you to create a friendship, you have to be focused and listen to the person, get to know the person. You have like compassion and share like the emotions. Even for that, you need to have focus. Even walking outside, you have to be focused enough to see where to walk and not to walk. Because if you're not careful, you might fall. It's just even the smallest of details. Anything in life, literally, that you want to achieve, even if it's nothing big, just have a stable career. You have to remain focused to get like your tasks accomplished so that you can be satisfied with yourself. And yeah, I think focus is extremely important. I think there's this epidemic in this country or maybe all over the world. The attention is the currency. Like actually, the attention is the currency. It's also all of these companies they're spending billions and billions of dollars on how to hack human psyche. And I'm not saying this, out of my ass. I did read a book called Hooked, how he was essentially giving an explanation of all of Hooked, book called Hooked by Neil Ariel, something like that. The author, yes. And he says that he would be one of the board members of all these gamification apps or social media apps that they hire the best psychologists to hack the human mind and get their attention. And all of these advertisements all over the place, all of the websites, applications, everything is essentially constantly fighting to get your attention. And there were so many reports and discoveries that I was reading from the scientists that said how humans' attention has been essentially destroyed, and because of how internet made flashiness, right?
Mm-hmm. I actually think this is a good direction for our conversation because this entire episode could be considered a collective intervention for people like myself, or some, or maybe most people in the audience. I would assume there are a lot of people that work in an office environment, work and sit in front of a screen on a day-to-day basis for jobs. And we just went through a pandemic, once in a century kind of event. Last time something like this happened was 1918 with the Spanish flu. And we haven't really been through an experience like this in decades. And in addition to that, we're going through, again, a very secular and a very uncharted trend of gamification of everything, of just the speed of information is just ramping up. And you just kind of combine the two, where people are stuck at homes for a solid year. And in addition to that, they're surrounded by screens. And this is something more anecdotal. I'm not able to give any statistics off the top of my head, but anecdotally, I hear across my friend groups, and I have friends who are consultants, investment bankers, lawyers, people working in tech, and it's a common theme. Everybody's distracted, and everybody's having a hard time being able to keep their attention span, being able to stay focused. And some people suspect that it could be also a byproduct of just perhaps getting COVID, some neurological side effects associated with the disease. But I feel like a big part of it is just being stuck at home and not being able to see anything but screens, essentially for a year. And I think in that sense, the conversation that you're bringing up about the attention as a currency is definitely a very, very important thing to talk about. And I guess if we talk about reading books and we talk about Stoicism, what do you think about other ways of consuming essentially the same information? So people who listen to audiobooks, still the same concept, right? You're still consuming information, but through an audiobook. Or somebody who watches videos to consume books. Or even somebody who prefers to watch a movie like Harry Potter instead of actually reading through the books.
So actually with the concentration, also what helps Stoicism is actually connected. There's one quote in Stoicism that goes, do whatever you do whatever is before you, do it like a Roman soldier, as this is your last thing. Give your everything, right? And nothing else matters except that. And in terms of the attention deficit, I think pandemic has played a factor or made it worse, but I think the issue has been existing for quite some time, with the last 5-10 years now, with mobile phones and with these notifications and social media. How I would suggest about the consumption, you have to ask yourself what is really important for yourself, right? Are you really consuming something because you think it's important, or are you consuming it because is this another form of distraction? And when it comes to audiobooks, I do hear it a lot where people say, I like to read an audio or listen to an audiobook when I'm driving. But speaking from personal experience, when I used to do that, you really can't do multitasking. There was one point in time where people thought humans are great, can be great multitaskers, but recently now, as more scientists coming out, you realize that human can't. A brain can only focus on one thing at a time. But when you're multitasking, essentially what it's doing, you are switching from one task to another constantly. And what that does to your brain when it switches from one task to the next task, it leaves residue. So it depletes your brain resources even more. So when you constantly do that, right, you keep on wasting so much available resources in your mind. And by the time when you think you completed both of them, one thing you did is you did a half-assed job on both of them. And two is you have depleted so many mental resources when everything is done.
Guilty.
Yeah.
Guilty.
Right.
I've done that. Yes.
So with audiobook, whenever I would be driving, I'm listening to an audiobook and I think I'm productive. Right. But if you ask yourself, okay, what was the concept that I got from this chapter or from this page? At least for me, I couldn't answer. What did I just listen? I don't know. Because I said, you're doing two things. You're driving.
Yeah.
Right? With drive it's not an easy task. You're constantly looking at, danger, at a car near you, pedestrian, at the light. There's just so many variables. And then you plug in an audiobook. You better do just one thing at a time, honestly.
Yeah.
So at least for me, I used to listen to an audiobook at one point, and then I completely stopped because I would ask, okay, what was the chapter? What was it about? And I'm like, I have no idea. Maybe I recall 10% of what I listened, and then if I compare when I'm sitting and reading, like I retain 80 to 90% of the information I read.
Mm-hmm.
Or even if I'm just listening to an audiobook, but without driving, I retain 60 to 70%. So what a significant difference. You know how people wash dishes and listen to an audiobook? Maybe they can do it or watch a movie while doing something. For me, I couldn't, unless it's the task that's a miscellaneous, that you don't really need attention. It's just, cleaning up and something like that. But if it's something that demands mental resources and ability to stay focused to extract certain information, you're not doing it to its full capacity.
Would you say your focus would be where it is today if it wasn't for discovering meditation first?
No way.
Hold on. Well, that's a good. Let's hold on meditation. I want to talk about that. But let's wrap up the Stoicism with our favorite segment, Six-Figure Discussions, Dumb Question of the Week. And drum roll, the dumb question of the week. If you could have a dinner with Marcus Aurelius, let's just skip all the technicalities of it. Let's just assume either he speaks English or you speak Latin, and you sit in front of one of the greatest Roman emperor
and the most humble,
a conqueror who was a very renowned general of his time and a great philosopher. What kind of questions would you ask in a dinner?
How do you instill patience in you? I think patience is the big factor in people that is lacking, and patience also affecting your ability to achieve certain success when it takes time. So you're doing something and it takes time, but then if it doesn't go your way, instead of being patient, you get agitated. So you're creating more challenges to yourself. I think that would be a question. And the second is, how we know the difference, right, between internal validation, right, internal compass, right, where you create a set of values for yourself, and you allow that to be a compass in your life for your principles and virtues. And there's external one, which is, what will people think? How will I be seen by people? Will people respect me? Do people like me? Right? And the stronger individual is usually the one who has a strong internal compass. The question I would ask is, how do you find your internal compass? What is the process to hone that inner ability to be so in tune with yourself? Because although I do think I spend a lot of time by myself, it's still very challenging to navigate your internal compass or set definitions or principles. Right? There are specific principles that you're guided in life, or set principles that you're not going to break or whatever. But then how do you add layers to it? I think that would be those would be the questions.
Does he not address that in his book?
I actually haven't read his books.
Like the original, right?
So he has this book, it was his journal.
The journal.
Yeah. The thing is, it wasn't a book, it was a journal just for himself that he would write every day. And then when he died, they turned it into a book. I even hear Ryan Holiday talk a lot about it, that if Marcus Aurelius would have discovered that his journal is a book, he would be petrified. Because it was his personal, intimate conversations within himself.
Like self-reminder.
Yeah. And
Yeah, since I'm embarrassed to share my journal. So
Yeah, I haven't read Meditations. Richard is reading right now. I do want to read it at some point. I don't know if he has addressed it or not. He did. Ryan Holiday uses a lot of examples in the book, but I still would want to get his answers, right?
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
And-
of course. That would it would be much better to hear from him live, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the third question now I would ask is, how do you remain humble when you are the most powerful individual in this world at the time? And when you read even meditations, or you read the stuff that you write in his journal, as I said, I haven't read it, but like in Ryan Holiday, he uses examples. You should never be able to relate to whatever he's saying, right? Because he's king and you're a normal person, but you end up relating to him, which makes you realize he's writing such profound things, such deep things that is universal among all humans. How do you remain humble?
Yeah, back to the question earlier.
Let's talk about meditation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you think now, if we circle back, would you think you'll be able to improve your focus as much as you have if it wasn't for discovery meditation?
Absolutely not. No way. No way.
Why not?
With meditation, what you learn is you learn to remove yourself.
I did explain it to Tamchin in a previous podcast, but I'm pretty sure you can
I'll
expound
try.
on it even more.
I think his name is Sam Harris, where he says that you are a subject, but then there's also an object to you, and you are able to remove yourself. So imagine you're a scientist, and whenever you're searching or discovering, you are able to look at a material and examine it. With us humans, we don't have that ability, right? Because we identify with emotions. When you feel sad, you're like, oh shit, I'm sad. Right? So essentially what you're saying, you're identifying with the emotion of sadness. And then when you're happy, oh, I'm happy. You're unintentionally identifying with the emotion of happiness. But with meditation, you're able to pull yourself, oh, I'm experiencing sadness. By creating this space between you and the emotion, you're able to look at it in a healthy way, right? And then decide what you want to do with it. Do you want to associate or do you want to remove it? And you're able to look at all your emotions, whatever you're experiencing, and how that then helps you in concentration, right? In your ability to stay focused. So let's say you're on a task and your mind wanders somewhere. And it's very natural for mind to wander. It's called monkey brain, right? Monkey mind. It always distracts you. Always how about this? How about that? How about this? In the Waking Up app, there's one of the people who says, imagine you're living with a roommate and he's constantly barraging you nonstop. What would you do? You would move out. You would move away from that roommate, and your brain, and your brain is the same. But unfortunately, there's no way for you to move out from him. You will be with him till the day you die. So the only way you have to learn how to live with it and learn to control it. Otherwise, it will control you. So when you're doing a task and you're concentrating, and then your monkey mind throws you these weird ideas, you probably had that. Everyone has had that before. You're concentrating, and then you think about an event, and you lose this concept, and now you're lost in that thought, right? You get carried away.
Yeah.
But with mindfulness or with meditation, because you have trained yourself to pull away, you're able to catch yourself. Oh wait, my mind is wandering again. Time to refocus. I want to refocus. So you constantly bring your mind back to the task at hand. So you're training your mind to come back. Essentially, your mind is like a dog on a leash, and you keep bringing it back, and whatever assignment you have in front of you, you set that as a priority and you get it done. By training the mind, it becomes more and more like a muscle where it just compounds over time as you do it more and more often. Yeah, that has helped in my ability to stay focused.
So because you've developed those skills to bring yourself back to present whenever your mind will wander, it helps you to make improvement on focus rapidly.
Yeah. And it has helped me not just in my ability to work. It's been helping me in just enjoying life. Right, I can sit in a cab and while being driven somewhere and enjoy that moment, that present moment, be fully in it and experience the bliss or whatever it is. Or if I'm with a friend, and instead of being distracted by a thought or carried by oh, what is he thinking about me? Or what are these people thinking about me? Oh, I am hungry. Oh, I want to go home. I have this task. I'm able to put all these thoughts aside. And okay, what is my subject? The subject is a friend, and we are having conversation, and I want to be fully present. Yeah. And you're able to remove all of these noises, right? And choose to identify with this subject and give your full attention. What that does to you and your friend, it creates a more bond, a more fruitful friendship. So it helps in all aspects of life. life. Truly, truly, truly does. And I'm only, year and a half into it. And I really can't wait what it will do 5, 10, 20 years from now. And I do look forward to continue on this journey of enjoying the present moments.
When you're meditating, what goes on in the monkey part of the brain?
Anything, everything. Okay, I have this to-do task. I'm late on this. Oh, I need to get this done. Oh, wait, I need to do something.
Or let me check my phone.
Let me check my phone. I need to do something. I'm wasting my time by not doing anything. Right? So like all of these emotions come on. Oh, my stomach hurts. Oh, I'm hungry. Oh, I don't feel like working today. So it's just, all of these thoughts.
It's a barrage of all sorts of questions.
Imagine this. You're in a busy road and there are cars, and there are cars constantly going that way or this way, that way or this way. And imagine those are your thoughts being jumped around. And when you are not self-aware, right? Let's say you haven't practiced, like you're not meditating, and that person is you. So if you're not meditating, you get carried away with your thoughts. And essentially you sit on any available cab and then it takes you one way to another. So you never get to your desired destination. But if you are meditating, what it creates is you're able to see all these cabs going a different way, and you will only look for cabs that get you to the way you want to go, to the direction. So you only look for that. Once it gets there, you stop, you sit there, and then it takes you where you want to take it. So these cabs are essentially all your thoughts. They always do have. But if you're able to regulate, look at them, quiet them down, Brian Holiday's book, Illness is Key, is an amazing book. Essentially, he talks about that. He says that you want to watch what you input in your head, from movies to books to friends to everything, to quiet down your mind, give out more output, journaling, self-reflecting, meditating, how you talk to yourself with your friends has a profound effect on your mind, and then that translates to your life. Definitely recommend checking it out. It's a very quick read, small book like this, very easy to grab, takes minimal space. It's an amazing book to read.
I think what I've also noticed with meditation is that I'm actually enjoying friendship a lot more. Because you know how you're always present, and you're able to shut down all the noise in your mind and just focus on whichever friend you're talking to at the moment.
Yes, yeah.
And the conversations are so much more fruitful, and you remember it, and your friend is also so much more happy about it because he knows that you're giving your full, undivided attention to him, and that over time just cultivates even better friendship.
Yeah. How do you feel when you share with someone and you know when they're not fully present, when they're distracted? Right? You know that they're not listening. But when someone is listening, you share this moment, right? While he understands me, or he at least listening to me. So the person appreciates. So again, it ties back to that attention is the biggest currency.
Yeah.
It really
even pets fight for it.
Right? Pets fight for it. Even as a kid, when you're born, you're crying constantly, right? Because whenever you're not given enough attention, you're crying for the attention. That's really the foundation.
I think this was a great episode. Thank you for sharing your journey with anger management, with discovering meditation, self-reflecting, and then also discovering ways to improve your focus. Yeah, and we are here in New York. We're leaving tomorrow. Mm-hmm. You're going back to Cali. You're going back to VA. You guys haven't noticed gear coming soon. But yeah, do you guys have anything else you want to add?
Seriously, guys, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and
it was actually some fun.
Yeah, and I hope there will be many more where we get to talk about a lot of other things. Mm-hmm. And yeah, again, I think this is a great introduction of you as a recurring character in our podcast.
We're wrapping up today's episode. Thank you guys for watching. If you tuned in, stay till the end. Thank you. We appreciate it. If you have, drop your comments down below. Hit the like button for YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok. Listen to us on Spotify if you don't have time for YouTube. And we'll be coming at you now bi-weekly, every episode. If you want more action from us, follow us on Instagram and TikTok. We drop reels and memes pretty much every day. So you'll get to hear more from us on those platforms. So thank you once again. This was Rish. This was Tam. This is my brother. Episode number 5 just wrapped up. Assalamu alaikum. Nakshidon. Alaikum assalam. Nakshidon.